There's a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when something inside you whispers, "You're not supposed to be here." Not in the job you dread, not in the relationship that drains you, not in the endless cycle of wanting more and receiving less. But you can't explain why you feel this way. On paper, everything might look fine, but your soul knows. And that discomfort, that restlessness, it's not a sign of failure. It's a signal, a transmission from a version of you that already lives the life you've been visualizing. A life where your decisions are aligned with your purpose, where your energy is clean, where your reality mirrors your highest frequency. That version of you is not a fantasy. It exists. And today, we're going to explore the science that proves you're already connected to it, whether you realize it or not. This isn't about imagination. It's not about hoping for something better. It's about understanding that in the quantum field, everything you desire already exists as a potential. And more than that, it's already entangled with you. Quantum entanglement is not just a theory reserved for subatomic particles. It's a mirror of the way consciousness, timelines, and identity are intertwined beyond space and time. And the gap you feel between your current self and the life you long for, that's not a void. It's a bridge. It only feels painful because part of you is still tuned into the old frequency, while another part is trying to shift into the one that already knows who you are becoming. Let's be clear. This isn't about attracting your dream life. It's about realizing that it's already trying to reach you, but you can't meet it from the identity that's still vibrating with fear, scarcity, doubt. You can't recognize a reality that's beyond the emotional patterns you keep rehearsing. You must shift, not in your environment, but in your field. Quantum entanglement, in the scientific sense, tells us that two particles, once connected, remain linked regardless of distance. When one changes, the other responds instantly. No signal, no delay, just pure, instantaneous interaction. Now consider this. What if that same law applies to you and the version of you that's already living the life you desire? What if your emotions, your choices, your energy in this moment are entangling with your future, altering it or aligning it, depending on what you choose to embody now? You've been told manifestation is about asking, visualizing, waiting. But the truth is, you're not summoning anything. You're remembering, reconnecting, realigning. You're syncing with a timeline that's been waiting for you to vibrate in harmony with it. That's why it feels so hard when you're stuck. Because part of you knows you're meant to leap, but another part of you still holds the frequency of survival, of logic, of safety. But quantum transformation doesn't come from playing it safe. It comes from resonance. What if the ache you feel is not the absence of your dream life, but the pressure of its presence trying to align with your current self? What if the reality you're chasing is already here, and your only job is to tune yourself like an antenna, to stop sending signals of fear and start broadcasting from belief? This video is not just an explanation, it's a transmission, a map, a reminder, not of something new but of something ancient inside you, something you've always known, that you are a quantum being, that your reality is entangled with infinite potentials, and that right now, in this very moment, the life you crave is not asking to be created. It's asking to be remembered, felt, claimed. So if you've been feeling stuck between what is and what could be, stay here, breathe deeper, because this space between your current life and your dream life isn't empty. It's sacred. It's charged with possibility. And when you learn to sync with it, when your energy becomes coherent, everything begins to respond. Not because the universe finally heard you, but because you finally became the version of you that could hear it back. We live in a universe that doesn't behave the way we were taught. For centuries, we believed reality was linear, solid, measurable, something out there happening to us. But the discoveries of quantum physics have shattered that illusion. At the heart of it is one of the most mysterious and powerful phenomena ever observed: quantum entanglement. When two particles interact in a quantum system, they become entangled, so deeply connected that their states are no longer independent. What happens to one instantly affects the other, regardless of space, time, or any physical connection. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But it's not just spooky, it's revolutionary. Why does this matter to you? Because you are not separate from the field. You are not isolated from the version of you living your ideal life. According to this principle, once there is a connection at the quantum level, it transcends time and space. And if consciousness is not local, if your awareness is part of the quantum field as modern science increasingly suggests, then you are already linked to every version of you that exists as a potential. Your dream life isn't somewhere far away, waiting in the future. It's here now, encoded in the field, waiting for your frequency to become resonant enough to interact with it. Let's ground this. Imagine two people in completely different parts of the world, but who share a deep, invisible connection. They begin to think of each other at the same time. They dream similar dreams. They change when the other does. This isn't fantasy. This is entanglement in action. Now zoom in deeper. Imagine you right now and a version of you who has already made the leap. Already healed, already abundant, already living with purpose and clarity. If you are entangled, then changes in your energy can instantly begin to influence and align the frequency of that timeline. That's not metaphor. That's field dynamics. The quantum field isn't bound by geography or chronology. It is a sea of probabilities, responding not to your logic but to your state of being. If you are anxious, afraid, doubtful, you entangle with realities that reflect and confirm those frequencies. If you are clear, elevated, and coherent, you entangle with the version of reality that is already coherent with that vibration. It's not about forcing outcomes. It's about matching frequencies. Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it simply. The quantum field responds not to what we want. It responds to who we are being. That's entanglement in real terms. Your intention, when combined with an elevated emotion, creates coherence. And coherence is what causes the field to respond. Think of it like tuning a radio. Your dream life, the one where you're aligned, fulfilled, free, is a frequency already being broadcast. If you're on a different wavelength, you'll never hear the song. But if you learn to tune your inner world, your thoughts, emotions, and identity, you don't have to chase the signal. You become the receiver. And this is where the power truly lies. Entanglement is not passive. It's not just about being connected. It's about how you influence that connection through the choices you make right now. Every thought you allow to repeat, every emotion you surrender to, every version of you that you choose to embody or resist, all of it sends a signal. You are the transmitter, and the field is always listening. You've been conditioned to think manifestation is about repetition, or scripting, or techniques, but the quantum world works differently. It works on alignment. That's why some people repeat affirmations endlessly and see nothing change, because the words are meaningless if the frequency behind them is incoherent. But when you align your internal state, truly align it, the field has no choice but to mirror that back. So yes, entanglement is scientific, but it's also deeply spiritual. It tells you that your dream life is not separate from you. You are not waiting on luck or timing or even action in the way you were taught. You're waiting on resonance, on remembering that the gap between where you are and where you long to be is already bridged by the field. It's already connected. And once you understand this, your work is no longer to reach, it's to tune. Not to attract, but to sync. The implications are profound. It means nothing is truly out of reach. It means the field is always responding, even when you can't see it. And most of all, it means your identity, the one you choose to inhabit, moment by moment, is the key to unlocking the timeline that has always been yours. If you're already entangled with your dream life, then why hasn't it shown up yet? Why does the version of you who feels free, abundant, purposeful, still feel like a distant concept instead of a lived experience? The answer is both confronting and liberating, because you're not yet tuned to it. The entanglement exists, it's quantum law, but tuning into it is a matter of vibration, not desire. You don't get the reality you want. You get the one that matches your field. And that field is shaped not just by what you say or want, but by the frequency you are, consistently, emotionally, unconsciously. Most people are walking around rehearsing frequencies of the past. Every day they wake up and feel the same. Emotions, frustration, anxiety, lack. Not because they want to, but because their nervous system is addicted to those states. And every time they feel them, they entangle with timelines that match that emotional reality. The field is neutral. It doesn't punish or reward. It reflects. If you're stuck in fear, it reflects situations that confirm your fear. If you're locked in scarcity, it responds with experiences that reinforce lack. This isn't punishment. It's feedback. The universe is not ignoring you. It's mirroring you. And here's the most difficult part to accept. Much of this happens below your conscious awareness. Your subconscious mind, shaped by early experiences, trauma, societal programming. It's constantly projecting a reality that feels familiar, even if it's painful. And familiarity creates magnetic pull. This is why people repeat the same relationships, the same financial struggles, the same self-worth battles, even when they're trying to change, because their vibrational identity is still aligned with who they've been, not who they are becoming. You cannot tune into a higher frequency while clinging to lower patterns. You can't collapse a new timeline while defending the old one with your thoughts, your choices, your self-talk. You have to become incompatible with the frequency of your old life. That means breaking the addiction to certain emotions, interrupting the stories you keep telling yourself about who you are and what's possible. Most importantly, it means realizing that your current emotional baseline is the strongest force in your manifestation process. It's not your vision board. It's not how often you journal. It's not how well you meditate when things are calm. It's what you vibrate when you're triggered. It's what you choose when you feel fear or doubt or fatigue. Because in those moments, the universe is listening to your field, not your words. And your field is shaped by embodiment, not intention. So what blocks you from syncing with your dream life? It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's that you're still entangled with the version of you that believes it's hard, or not possible, or not safe to change. That identity sends out a signal, and the field simply reflects that. You've been trying to manifest from the identity of lack, and wondering why abundance doesn't respond. You've been visualizing freedom while embodying contraction, and the field, ever neutral, ever responsive, is simply doing its job. But here's the good news. The moment you recognize this, you reclaim your power. You stop chasing and start reprogramming. You stop asking and start aligning. And slowly, or sometimes instantly, your reality begins to shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Because you tuned into a frequency that already contained the version of you you were chasing. And once you do that, the outer world must recalibrate. It cannot do otherwise. That's quantum law. You don't need to do more. You need to become more coherent, more present, more emotionally congruent with your desired reality. The field doesn't respond to what you deserve. It responds to what you embody. That's why some people seem to manifest effortlessly. They're not trying harder. They're simply resonating more clearly. So ask yourself, what emotional patterns am I rehearsing that are entangling me with realities I don't want? What beliefs am I still broadcasting into the field? And am I willing to release them? Not because they're wrong, but because they're no longer resonant with the reality I choose to experience? Because once you release them, once you create space, once something remarkable happens, the version of you that's been waiting patiently in the quantum field starts to respond. The signs appear. The synchronicities increase. The path unfolds. Not because it suddenly appeared, but because you finally aligned with the frequency where it always existed. Now that you know the quantum field is already entangled with your desired reality, the question is no longer, how do I get there? The question becomes, how do I tune into it? Today, now, with who I already am. And the answer is simpler than most people think. Because manifestation is not about chasing, scripting, or waiting for permission from the outside world. It's about coherence. creating internal alignment so powerful that the field has no choice but to respond. The dream life isn't waiting for you to do more. It's waiting for you to become vibrationally compatible with it. And that requires a ritual, not in the mystical sense, but in the energetic sense. This ritual is not about candles or crystals. It's about presence, precision, and persistence. And it begins with identity. Every morning before the world pulls you into its momentum, you stop and ask yourself, who am I entangled with today? The version of me still tied to fear and repetition, or the version that already lives in freedom, alignment, and clarity? This version already exists, not as an ideal, but as an active frequency. So your first task is to name that version. Give it form. Not fantasy, right, but emotional texture. What does that version feel when they wake up? What do they believe about money, love, time, possibility? What decisions do they make effortlessly? Next comes embodiment. You take one small but powerful action that aligns with that frequency, not to get a result, but to broadcast your coherence. You clean your space as if it's already the environment of your future self. You speak to someone as that version would, with more certainty, more calm, more grace. You say no to something that feels like the past and yes to something that reflects the future. Every micro-action becomes a signal to the field, a confirmation that you're not trying to manifest something external. You're stabilizing something internal, and the universe responds accordingly. Now comes emotional encoding. You close your eyes and breathe slowly. With each breath, you visualize not what you want, but who you already are on that timeline. And more importantly, you feel it. You generate the elevated emotion, gratitude, certainty, joy. Not because it's real yet, but because it's already real somewhere and you are choosing to sync with it now. Neuroscience shows us that the brain and body begin to rewire when we combine clear intention with elevated emotion. This isn't fantasy. This is neuroplasticity and quantum entrainment in motion. Do this long enough, consistently enough, and something begins to shift. The old identity, once dominant, starts to lose its gravitational pull. You begin to notice that you no longer resonate with the conversations, patterns, or energy that used to feel like home. That's not loss. That's vibrational liberation. It means you are detaching from the version of you that blocked the signal and synchronizing with the version that's been transmitting it all along. So here's the invitation. Not a technique, not a trick, but a ritual of remembrance. Every morning, who am I entangled with? Every afternoon, what small action reaffirms my new identity? Every evening, what frequency am I falling asleep with? Contraction or coherence? You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Because every time you repeat this process, you reinforce the signal. And eventually, the field has no choice but to mirror it. That's not magic. That's resonant physics. And now, here's your moment of alignment. Not just to listen, but to embody. If you feel this truth in your body, if something inside you already knows this is the shift you've been waiting for, comment below. I am synced. Let the field know. Let your future self know. Let your subconscious register the new signal. This is not just a comment, it's an energetic declaration, a vibrational anchor, a subtle but powerful shift into coherence, because you're not waiting anymore. You're not hoping anymore. You are synchronizing. And when you do, everything changes. Not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with the version of you who no longer needs to chase. They simply broadcast. And the universe responds. Most people think nothing is happening. They follow the practices, they meditate, visualize, journal, repeat affirmations, and still, their outer world seems unchanged. So they assume something's broken, that maybe this doesn't work for them. But what they're missing is this: the field is always responding, not sometimes, not only when you believe hard enough, always. The challenge is not in getting it to work. The challenge is in recognizing how it's already working, moment by moment, subtle frequency by subtle frequency. Your reality, right now, is a perfect, mirror of what your field has been broadcasting consistently. Not what you hoped for, not what you tried to override with positivity, but what you embodied over time. Your dominant thoughts, your emotional states, your subconscious stories, all of it has been entangled with the possibilities that match them. And the evidence? It's everywhere. It's in your relationships, your money flow, your body, your sense of time. It's all feedback, not punishment, not reward, just resonance. The truth is, the quantum field doesn't respond to peaks of emotion. It responds to patterns of being. You can have a moment of clarity and alignment, and then spend the rest of your day rehearsing self-doubt, fear, or control. Which signal do you think the field will stabilize around? Your highest moment, or your most repeated frequency? And this is where most people stay stuck, between what they desire and what they habitually broadcast. But here's where the shift begins. When you stop waiting for big signs and start honoring the small ones. The gut feeling that says, "Don't go there today." The gentle urge to rest instead of overperform. The inner voice that whispers, "You're already enough." These are not random. These are responses. Fragments of coherence leaking into your now, nudging you toward alignment. But if you ignore them, because they're not dramatic, not instant, not externally validated, you miss the opening. You delay the collapse. Understand, your dream life does not arrive in one dramatic moment. It crystallizes through a series of small internal permissions. The moment you speak with more truth. The moment you stop forcing and start receiving. The moment you walk away from something familiar but not aligned. These moments are quantum levers, micro choices with macro consequences. Because the field doesn't require effort, it requires congruence. And when you finally begin to trust the feedback, when you stop measuring reality only through what's visible and start sensing the subtle alignment beneath the surface, you begin to notice something radical. The field is not distant, it's immediate, it's alive, it's responsive. And it's listening for who you are now, not who you're trying to be someday. So you tune in, you act from alignment, even when nothing's changed yet. You choose trust when your mind wants proof. You hold the emotional signature of the version of you who has already received. And when you do that long enough, reality begins to bend. Not because you manipulated it, but because you resonated with it. The quantum field doesn't respond to what's loud, it responds to what's stable. Not the excitement of one meditation, but the coherence of a lifestyle. Not the hype of a vision board, but the integrity of your everyday presence. That's what creates collapse. That's what accelerates convergence. That's what brings the timeline of your dream life out of potential and into form. So ask yourself, am I living in a way that matches the version of me I claim to be? Am I listening to the subtle shifts or still demanding obvious signs? Am I broadcasting fear while saying I believe? Am I tuned in or just trying to force the frequency? Because the truth is, you don't need to try harder. You need to tune deeper. And when you do, when you finally align your energy, actions, and attention with the version of you that is already free, the field doesn't hesitate. It responds, it mirrors, it magnifies. Not someday, not eventually. Now, there is a moment in every transformation that feels like nothing is happening. A stillness so deep it almost feels like emptiness. But it's not. It's a vibrational silence. A sacred pause where the old no longer fits and the new has not yet fully arrived. This is the space most people resist, and yet it's the space where the quantum field does its most powerful work. Because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop emitting fear, doubt, and desperation, that's when you become a clear signal, and clear signals collapse realities. In quantum physics, there's a concept called decoherence. It's the moment a quantum system becomes classical, observable, measurable, the moment potential becomes form. It doesn't happen through force. It happens through coherence, through stability, through presence. And in the inner world, coherence is born in silence. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of noise. The noise of doubt, the static of overthinking, the interference of needing to know how. When you quiet that noise, not by controlling it, but by transcending it, you enter the field with power. Not the power of control, but the power of resonance. You become a tuning fork for the version of you that already exists, the one living your dream life. You stop speaking from lack. You stop asking from fear. You stop vibrating from, I need it to change. And in that space, reality bends, not because you screamed louder, but because you finally whispered the right frequency. This is the paradox of quantum manifestation. The less you try, the more it responds. The more you embody, the faster it mirrors. You're not attracting anything. You're not creating from nothing. You're syncing. You're aligning. You're remembering. The life you want is not something to be built brick by brick. It's something to be received, one vibration at a time. You do not need to figure it all out. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to become available. Available to the version of you that already knows. That already lives in peace. Love expansion. That version is not far. It's entangled with you. It's watching, waiting, broadcasting silently, waiting for your signal to match its own, waiting for you to trust the stillness long enough to hear it, to feel it, to become it. So take this in, slowly. Let it vibrate beneath your skin. The shift doesn't come with fanfare. It comes in the subtle decisions. The ones only you can feel. The ones no one claps for. The ones that say, I am ready. I am clear. I'm no longer vibrating with what I've outgrown. If this video brought you back to that clarity, if something inside you feels quieter, stronger, more tuned in, then you're already shifting. You don't need proof. You don't need permission. The field is listening. The field is responding. The only thing left to do is to trust it. And if you want to continue aligning with this vibration, if you want more content that doesn't just inform, but transforms, gently subscribe to the channel. Not just to watch more, but to anchor deeper. Because here, we don't chase timelines, we become them. And the ones who become are the ones who collapse. In the end, it's not about changing your life, it's about changing your signal. And when your signal changes, everything follows.